right, we good to go? Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Senior Wednesday at the Museum of World Treasures. Thank you all for being here. Next month's speaker on August 6th will be Chuck Warner, the Lawrence-based author of Birds, Bones, and Beetles, a Kansas notable book about Chuck's own grandfather, Charles Bunker, a naturalist. Chuck writes, armed with only grammar school education, Charles Bunker had a significant and successful career in the world of academia at the University of Kansas Natural History Museum in the early 20th century. He served as a curator of birds and mammals, was pivotal to the installation of the iconic panorama in the Dyke Museum, developed an effective method using beetles to clean animal skeletons, and discovered the fossil remains of the 45-foot sea serpent that greets all visitors as they enter Dyke Hall today. However, his greatest legacy was the students he trained and inspired, who became some of the best naturalists in the mid-20th century at such prestigious institutions such as UC Berkeley, the University of Michigan, and the Smithsonian. So mark your calendars for August 6th. Today, we're happy to have Dr. Taiwo Bello speaking remotely from Stillwater, Oklahoma. He is an assistant professor of African history at Oklahoma State University. Dr. Bello is a specialist in gender and women's history, war and society, violence and conflict studies, Black and diaspora studies, and global and transnational history. Dr. Bello has published widely on the above themes in specialist, multidisciplinary, and area studies journals, including War and Society, the International History Review, the Journal of World History, Gender and History, Africa Today, Journal of Globalization Studies, and Canadian Journal of African Studies. His latest article appeared in War and History, Fall 2024, and he has another one which is forthcoming in the Journal of Global South Studies. He is a Fellow of the Society for Military History and an Associate Fellow of the Royal Historical Society. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Taiwo Bello.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, thank you very much, Kinan, for at first inviting me to give this talk. Am I good? Okay. So thank you very much, Kinan, for inviting me to give this talk and the rest of the team at the Museum of World Treasures. So today, my presentation is titled The Military Decades in Africa, War and Gender in 20th Century Nigeria. So just as a background, in the 60s, when the majority of the countries on the continent of Africa gained independence from the former colonial masters, Great Britain, France, Portugal, Italy, Spain, amongst all those, Belgium, amongst other key countries. The African leaders who took over from those colonial powers, majority of them did not rule according to expectations of their people. So as a consequence of that, the military folks from different countries took over power. I mean, as we know, the military guys often come into power through coup. So majority of them in different parts of the African continent, the military guys took over power. And one of the key countries that experienced military takeover was Nigeria. So today, I'll be speaking about the actions of the military government in Nigeria and the actions as happened against the civilian population, especially the individuals called or the particular ethnic group known as the Biafrans. Uh, so my focus would be on the Nigerian Civil War, um, a civil war that happened between 1967 and 1970. But just as a way of providing us with the background information about that very war. The whole thing, as I mentioned, started in the 60s, immediately after Nigeria gained its independence from Great Britain, specifically on October the 1st, 1960. So after independence, the people who took over, they were civilians. They took over power. But by 1966, the military officers, the military folks in Nigeria, who were not even supposed to have anything to do with politics, decided to take over power from the civilian leaders. But in order for them to take over power, rather than going through elections, but as we know, going through elections is not uh, something that the military guys often think about. So what they did was to conduct or carry out or plan a coup. And in that coup, the military guys, about five of them, who engineered that on January the 15th, 1966, that coup led to the death or the killing or assassination of the head of state of Nigeria at the time. So, as a result of that coup, which took the lives of key political sages or individuals from the northern part of Nigeria, the person who staged that coup, I should mention, comes from the southeastern part of Nigeria. Just as a background to that, before I go into this, so that I'm very clear with this presentation. By 1966, Nigeria had three major ethnic groups. The first, the Yoruba ethnic group, the second, the Igbo ethnic group, and the third, the northern ethnic group, those who occupied the northern part of Nigeria, and then we had those who occupied the southern part of Nigeria. But those are divided into two. We have the Yorubas and we have the Igbo. So in the coup of January the 15th, 1966, the person that championed that coup was an Igbo man from the eastern part of the country, the eastern part of Nigeria. But in that coup that was championed by someone from the eastern part of Nigeria, the leader of Nigeria, who was from the northern part of Nigeria, was assassinated. So that then raised certain levels of suspicion amongst the northerners, the military guys from the northern part of Nigeria, believing or thinking that the Igbo people from the eastern part of Nigeria planned that coup in order to eliminate them from the political scene in the country. So, as a way to avenge the killing of their leader, military individuals or armies or soldiers from the northern part of Nigeria decided to stage a counter coup. And this counter coup or that counter coup was staged on July the 29th, 1966. That was a coup that was championed by strictly soldiers from the northern part of the country. So in that coup, a number of individuals were killed, including the Igbo person by the name Aguiyi Ironsi, who had taken over power after the January 15th, 1966, as a coup, which led to the assassination of the leader from, some of the leaders from the northern part of the country. So what we had up until late 1966 was, friction between soldiers from the eastern part of Nigeria and the northern part of Nigeria. But After the coup of July the 29th, 1966, which had led to the killing of the head of state who came from the eastern part of the country, the eastern part of Nigeria, by the name Agui Ironsi, the northern soldiers and the people from the northern part of Nigeria, northern civilians, were still angry about the fact that their political leaders were killed in the January the 15th, 1966 coup. So as a result, instead of the violence, or rather than the violence of 19 of January of July the 29th, 1966 to end after its execution, the violence did not end. The violence continued to claim the lives of people who were from, okay, yeah, no, that's okay.